The music of Hollow Knight is one of the most beloved soundtracks in all of gaming, so I want you to join me on a musical adventure as we listen to and analyze the elegant music of Hollow Knight. Let's go! In this first episode, we are going to be taking a look at some of the pieces, including the mysterious but adventurous Enter Hallownest, the very meditative Dirtmouth, and the ambient masterpiece that is Greenpath, among others. Let's dive right into it. Okay, first off, right off the bat, this is definitely giving me Tim Burton / Danny Elfman vibes, especially with the entrance of that harp. The sparing use of harp in classical style or romantic classical style music such as this, it always evokes something magical. Like, I don't know what it is with the harp. I think because it has some history with Celtic music and that's associated with all those magical beings like fairies and elves like that. The harp has always been associated with sounding magical. And of course, this is also the first appearance of this motif, da, 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 which you will be hearing spread across some of the other soundtracks in the game. All right, I really love this concept of having a long-sounding, slow-sounding melody. Again, da, 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 which you can hum or play with an instrument, and you can make it sound like it's a slow, like ballad-style melody. But the fact that Christopher Larkin, the amazing composer behind the soundtrack, he added a constant rhythmic accompaniment, which makes the music adventurous and it's like moving forward, makes it sound exciting and you're about to go on an adventure. But something is mysterious, something unknown. You're gonna be facing is like unknown challenges. I love that addition of the harpsichord to double the melodic line. It's giving it a very gothic vibe, very similar to Castlevania music. Wow. This texture, the melody being buried by arpeggios of the harp, it sounds so magical. It sounds so lush and magical. I really love that Christopher Larkin wrote this music with a very clear, very distinct and traditional melody and harmony. But he decided to end with a sort of very atonal harmony at the very end with synth pads. It's like there is something distinct, very determined melodic line. And then at the end, it's all jumbled and muddied and blurred. Like suddenly something's wrong. What's going on? What's gonna happen next? Find out when you press start. And that was the first song in the soundtrack, Enter Hallownest. I really love this. The moment the music begins, it already feels relaxed. And it makes sense because Dirtmouth, the location that the music is referring to, Dirtmouth is the first town that you will encounter in the game. And it will serve as some sort of central hub where you'll be resting, interacting with some of the NPCs. The moment you come to the town, it's already portrayed as a sanctuary of sorts. And the music definitely evokes that kind of mood. And this is one of the other motifs that we'll be hearing spread out in the game soundtrack. Da, 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 da. I call it the Dirtmouth leitmotif because this is where you hear it first in the game. Aside from knowing about the lore of the game, about Dirtmouth being a place where you can rest, it is being portrayed by the music as well, by only staying mostly in one chord. It's almost not changing the chord. It's staying in one type of harmony, therefore giving you some musical sense of stability. Yeah, this is the only part where the music modulates to a different chord progression, but only momentarily. And then it goes back. I love that interaction between the cello and the piano, or is it a viola and the piano? So when the music went back to the original harmony, the piano was doing some sort of tremolo textures. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I like that it tries to rile up or like cause a little chaos in the peacefulness of the music. If you progress further into the game, the town of Dirtmouth also experiences some semblance of chaos. I really love that piece. The general feeling that it gives me is life is slow in Dirtmouth and take your time, no need to rush. Pretty much it. It's very stable, stagnant in a way because it's actually kind of a ruined hometown. It is a little bit of your job to kind of rebuild the town somewhat and bring its residents back, to bring back some more life back into the town. And as you progress into the game, this happens. It sounds so huge, and I love the use of the reverb, and the synth pads was mixed to sound like in a huge hall. I love that the harp line is doing some sort of repeated ostinato, like a repeated pattern that is like coming in and then fading out like an echo, further reinforcing the idea. Ah, yes, this rhythmic part, this build up to the rhythmic part. I really love this. I love those clicking sounds, those tiny clicking sounds that's like mixed with a huge reverb. You know, whenever I hear those kinds of sounds in movies or in horror TV shows, I always imagine they're like being used to portray tiny creatures crawling about, maybe spiders or stag beetles, like tiny things scuttling about in the corner in the darkness, like preying upon you, or like, you know, just signs of danger. Wow, totally beautiful. One of my favorite pieces. Still watching? Do pluck that like button if you're enjoying the video. It will support the channel and will potentially bring in new fans to the wonderful music of Hollow Knight. Let's continue. Wow, this definitely is a battle theme. This is definitely a boss theme. In fact, this is one of the first boss themes that you will encounter. The song is called The False Knight and is referring to the boss called the False Knight, which is like a humongous armored creature that you will fight. He is wielding a giant mace And, he uses his huge size to attack you. I love that there's staccato strings, the low staccato strings. I think it's the cellos and the bass. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. Those staccato strings are actually a common trope in action soundtracks. One of the earliest uses I've heard of these staccato strings used as background music, used as score for action sequences is in the movie series The Bourne Identity. Dun 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 dun. And it's become sort of an action film or an action music trope. And it's really effective because, bouncing sounds of string instruments, especially cellos and basses, they really invoke some kind of intensity, and it also moves the music forward. Let's go. It's very rhythmic, but also very powerful and melodic. Yes, and here is one of the first instances of another leitmotif being used. La ra 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 ra. You will be hearing this. I call this motif the Hollow Knight motif because we're moving ahead here, but there is soundtrack number 26 in the soundtrack is called The Hollow Knight and features that melody as its main theme and its main leitmotif. So here, appearing it in the False Knight, which is most of the time one of the first bosses you will fight in the game, it just makes sense that, you will hear the main motif of the Hollow Knight to kind of bring you into a baptism of fire at your first boss encounter. In my opinion, rhythm is the one that moves music forward. It's the one that gives it its muscle. It's the one that gives it its kinetic characteristic. That is rhythm. And we got a lot of rhythm here. Dun 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 dun. It's a staccato strings. But when you inject a sweet sounding or a slow sounding melody like that, you're introducing an emotional aspect. It gives it some more drama. It gives it some more emotional weight. Here you have a very rhythmic background accompaniment, and then the melody. What a melancholic style melody. It's lifting the music even more emotional weight, giving it more dramatic stakes. Don't you feel that? During the rhythmic sections, the music is giving you the feelings of, watch out, look out for yourself, stay alert. And then it goes to this B section of a second type of melody. It's like trying to make you sing along. Oh my God. Here's another common trope in media music scoring or composing. The use of tritone, the use of a tritone interval, and it sounds evil and diabolical. And there's a reason for that. Actually, the tritone has some historical aspect to it, that it used to be called the devil's interval or tonus diabolus during the Renaissance or medieval times, that it was such an uncommonly used interval in traditional liturgical music at that time. It would stand out and, people thought that does not sound harmonic. Times changed and what sounded good today might not sound good back in the day. For a boss battle being some evil that you have to conquer, using the tritone or the devil's the devil's interval is kind of a common trope nowadays. It's an evolution of the Hollow Knight leitmotif. Da, 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 da. But then da, 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 da. It changes it a little bit. Wow, this part right here, it's making the music sound a bit more triumphant and victorious. It's almost like the music is rooting for you to win. All those syncopated meters, beautiful. I mean, it goes without saying, but there's also one of the reasons why I'm so in love with the soundtrack of Hollow Knight is, there's just so much bowed strings, so much violins, violas, and cellos. By default, it is my kind of music. Wow. The way the music ended, it's like you defeated the false knight, and then its armor and its weapons and whatever things that are protecting it like started to unravel and roll around the ground. That's kind of how that ending. So with a final bang of the chord, and then there's like some piano ornaments left over. That's what I'm imagining right now. You gotta love that harp mix with delay. It sounds so magical. It sounds so mesmerizing. Again. La, ra, 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 ra. You know where we heard that before? In the Dirtmouth track. Presented in a different arrangement with more harps with delays, and it's super beautiful. I really love. Oh my god. Just so you know, I've listened to the soundtrack of Hollow Knight so many times, so many countless times. And each time I'm always amazed and I always find some new aspect to it that I didn't recognize in earlier listenings. This is another one of those moments right here. The flute ornament, da-da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-da-dun, it's actually, I realized that it's a musical representation of those enemy flowers. In the Greenpath, there's this enemy flowers that surprise you in the ceiling and they shoot projectiles at you. And sometimes you're caught off guard and you don't know, oh, wait a minute, who's attacking me? Oh, there's this flower in the ceiling. I don't know how much of this was planned with the developers and Christopher Larkin, but I kind of feel in my head, at least in the visuals that I see in my head, that those surprise flute ornaments are kind of like a musical representation of that plant enemy. Another reason why I really love this track is it pretty much stays in the same chord progression, and that harp ostinato is like constant all throughout. It starts as setting the harmonic flavor of the piece, but eventually it becomes a texture that you just hear throughout the entire piece. Yeah, it's genius. It's really genius. The xylophone or the vibraphone combined with the flute is just such a lovely combination. It really pierces your hearing in a good way. And this is the first instance of where we change the chord progression. The constant harp is still there, I think. Let me check. Yes, the harp is still there, which means Christopher Larkin changed the chord progression, but it still stays within the same harmonic family of when the harp started the ostinato. It's beautiful. Yes, this is my favorite part. I love that the music starts to intensify because when you're playing Greenpath in the game, this is one of, in my experience playing the game, Greenpath is one of those locations where it starts to evolve and you'll be encountering a lot of intense platforming actions where one wrong mistake and you're dead. And we're back. The Dirtmouth motif, da, 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 it's back. And there we go. There we have the action strings again. Dun, 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 dun. Beautiful transition. Wow, I just noticed this right now, but there's the flute, you will hear da, 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 da. The flute, it's been mixed in a way that there's like an overuse of delay. The delay dial was like turned to 11 and you're now just hearing the flute sound like spread all throughout as if it was a glimmering. It's a glimmering sound, yes. It's a shimmering and glimmering sound. Really fits the theme of the location. Greenpath, there's a swamp or deadly swamp areas where if you jump, you lose a life or you'll get damaged. And these are actually bubbling acid and it kind of shimmers. So if it will have a musical representation, I think that shimmering delayed flute is it. Beautiful, beautiful. Greenpath is when the game tells you, hey, this game is hard. If you're enjoying my musical breakdowns of Hollow Knight's amazing soundtrack, I have some more for you to enjoy. You can start with this one.